90.1 FM, your Tennessee Valley praise station, just encouraging you today on this triumphant Thursday. We're going to get to Inside Oakwood with Dr. Leslie Pollard in just a few minutes. But first, Isaiah's going to tell you about the weather. How's it looking outside, Isaiah?
Mostly cloudy and 63 degrees with highs of 67 and a low of 39. The sun will come back out later on in the morning, and we'll have intermittent cloudy and sunny times during the afternoon. I'm Isaiah Goodridge, and this forecast has been brought to you by Applewhite Movers. They pick up and drop off across town or across the country. Their number is 844-929-1039.
Thank you, Isaiah. Now here's Captain Nick with an update on your traffic.
Sounds like they've cleared most everything accident-wise now. Traffic beginning to thin out pretty quick. We've been much lighter than normal. Of course, you'd expect that. We've had some power problems this morning, especially in Decatur. Had some traffic signals out there. They got everything back on with the exception of Wilson and Betty. That one may still be a problem. Expert heart care backed by advanced technology. When you need cardiac care, you need the heart doctor. Dr. Randall Burns and the team at Huntsville Heart Specialist, Bob Wallace Avenue. Captain Nick in the Jordan Lane Popeye Skywatch Traffic Center.
And it is 8:30 here in the Tennessee Valley Central Time, and time for Inside Oakwood with Dr. Leslie Pollard. He's here. He's going to share some more information. You know, today is really supposed to be the start of Alumni Weekend, and it is the start of Virtual Alumni Weekend, and that's why he's here today to talk to us about Inside Oakwood and all that's happening with Virtual Alumni Weekend. Good to see you, Dr. Pollard.
How are you doing this morning?
I am doing well, and you?
I am well, thank you. I am really doing well, for which I'm very grateful.
I know. It's really, last night was an interesting night with all the storming and everything, and it's like still kind of coming through today with feeling like, ooh, there's a storm, because we got a really good show coming up right here. We got a lot of stuff coming.
We got a lot happening
today. We got a lot
today.
that's happening today for Inside Oakwood. We have several guests on today, and you want to talk about
Sure, absolutely. Well, today we've got a special program. We're looking at, of course, the Virtual Alumni Weekend that's beginning, but we've got some special guests with us this morning. We've got Dimitri Scavella, who is one of our students here at Oakwood from the Bahamas, who just passed, of course, you recall, back in the fall. They passed through a very traumatic experience with the hurricane. Then we have Dr. Bron Jacobs. Dr. Bron Jacobs, who is our former pastor and an outstanding leader in the Seventh-day Adventist Church. He's doing faculty work for Oakwood University now. He's here with us. He's one of our speakers, along with Dimitri Scavella, for the Virtual Alumni Weekend. Then Dr. Andrea Trusty King, all the way from California, who will be with us. And then in the second portion of our show, we've got some frontliners. We've got persons who are working in the war against the COVID virus, who are Oakwood graduates, and who can give us a firsthand view of what the experience is actually like. We've got nurse Monique Jolicia Johnson, who will be with us by phone. She's just a wonderful person, graduated from our School of Nursing and doing tremendous work as a missionary on the front lines in New York City. Then we've got Dr. Jaysson Brooks down in Mississippi, who is also a faculty member at the University of Mississippi and doing great work there. And he can talk a little bit about it from a medical perspective, what he's seeing as it impacts healthcare. So this is the program this morning, and I'm excited about it.
I'm excited, too, because, you know, today is really the start of Virtual Alumni Weekend.
Virtual. Can you believe that? Virtual.
I mean, but we're still continuing. Life keeps going on. It doesn't stop.
On.
And work and all of the things that we have to do keep going on, despite the fact that COVID-19 is changing the way, but we're still getting it done. So we have our speakers for Virtual Alumni Weekend. They are with us today. And guess what, folks? We are still practicing our social distancing. We're all 6 feet apart, so you don't have to worry about that. We have a lot of guests on today. So Thursday night, today, is our speaker.
Yes.
Dimitri Scavella.
Yes.
Tell us.
10 o'clock. He's speaking for chapel, as a matter of fact. This is a new twist to Alumni Weekend, and we welcome Dimitri. Dimitri, welcome. We're glad that you're going to be here with us, and he's speaking at 10 o'clock Central Standard Time for our chapel presentation. So, Dimitri, how are you doing this morning?
Good morning to everyone in the Tennessee Valley. I'm doing great this morning.
Well, how do you feel about getting ready to do this Virtual Alumni Weekend and being the speaker for that first night?
Well, it's something new, but I'm open to it. it was a new experience to be behind the camera. I've never really preached like just to the camera before, but I'm open to it. I'm excited for it to take place.
Wow. So what about your delivery and your message for your speech tonight? Is it going to be anything different, or are you feeling like it's just on a new platform, a different platform, and do you have a special, unique message for this time?
But my message is simply the theme of Alumni Weekend is to remember, and so I'm just encouraging everyone to remember God's faithfulness during this time.
Wow. So, are you going to be able to take any questions? I don't know. How's that going to
Well,
be working,
let's ask. Well, yes, it's actually a presentation that he'll be making that's been recorded.
Mm-hmm.
But since Dimitri is here live with us this morning, many of you may not know that Dimitri is from the Bahamas and that his family went through the whole horrific experience back in the fall, you recall, of the hurricane. So, Dimitri, how is everybody doing back in the Bahamas, and first of all, how is this virus affecting, of course, the beautiful country of the Bahamas? But also, how is the recovery coming?
Well, they're doing well. Recovery is on its way. Day by day, there are new improvements. Some have still not been able to get on their feet as yet, but it's just a daily process. As a matter of fact, with this virus now, everyone is on lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like this past weekend, they were on 24 hours. Absolutely no one could leave the house or the yard. And so they were just completely on lockdown. And they're doing this, the government is doing this because the islands are so small and it's so easy for the virus to spread. It's such a good environment for the virus to spread. They're just trying their best to keep it contained.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, with that, you have people complaining. You have them, people, not doing well with that. But the government's trying to do its best to keep the virus as low as possible, the cases as low as possible.
Well, thank you, Dimitri, for that quick update. And for our listeners, Dimitri is from Bahamas, as I've said before, and he represents one of the 54 countries that's represented on the campus of Oakwood University.
Mm-hmm.
So it's we're very grateful and, of course, thankful for the international support that the university receives.
Right. Now, we also have our other guests who are guest speakers for Alumni Weekend, virtual Alumni Weekend. We have also Miss Trusty on the line, and she is going to be bringing our Friday. Is it Friday night?
Oh, no, Sabbath afternoon. Dr. Andrea Trusty King is a prolific speaker, an established minister, a great leader of churches and of ministries, and we are very honored. And, of course, she, too, is a graduate of Oakwood University. Many of us remember her when she was a student, and to watch the minister that she has become is just an amazing journey, and we're very proud of her work.
So, Dr. Trusty, how are you feeling today? And we do want to acknowledge the fact that we are aware that you have just recently lost a family member to COVID-19.
Yes, we just found out last night or last afternoon, and so, yes, but, we're here, and so we're praising God through it.
Praise God. We are praying for you as well. So how are you preparing for your message for this virtual Alumni Weekend?
Well, I think, life keeps happening, so I guess life prepares you. I was just so excited to be a part of Alumni, and so now that it's virtual, I think that definitely puts a little extra spice in it. It maybe makes it a little more challenging, but we're still just excited to be a part of it. And so even in the midst of, this COVID, it just can't win. So we're moving forward, and it's like, you thought we were going to be canceled, or you thought we were going to be canceled. Continuing to push forward.
Right. Well, I'm going to ask you a similar question I just asked Dimitri, and that is, as you prepare your message, I mean, it just seems like it has to be so profound, and we're looking for some hope and some encouragement.
Amen.
How will this be playing into your message for Sabbath?
Well, my message is about how it's already done. I think we have we've all been scrambling with this COVID-19 in the government, in our churches and businesses. We've all been scrambling, and I know one person who hasn't been scrambling, and that's God.
Amen.
He still. The Bible tells us that His work is finished, and so even when, in some of these chapters, we're like, how is this thing going to end? We can always peek to the end of the book and recognize that the finished work of Christ is going to bring us through no matter what comes our way.
Wow. Now, Alumni Weekend, the speaker for the 11 o'clock service is usually like a major accomplishment. It is. It's like,
it is a major accomplishment.
And people look forward to seeing who it's going to be every year, because once you get up on that stage for Alumni Weekend, you made it. Exactly. That's the feeling. So do you still share that feeling even though you're going to be online?
I do, but I think, being in your house is a lot different than being on the stage at the Bron.
Right.
So,
right.
So hopefully we'll work something out.
One of the things I've always loved about Dr. Andrea Trusty King is her sincerity and her genuineness, and you can hear that in the answers that she's giving. I don't know how you feel, Dr. Andrea Trusty King, but when I was invited to speak for Alumni, I've compared notes with people who have been invited to do it.
Right.
And most of us have spoken in places all over the world, right? Mm-hmm. But there is something about Alumni Weekend. I was so nervous.
Well, there you have like tens. How many thousands of people are
you
there?
Have a lot. On the average, 10,000 people.
Right.
But there's something about. I don't mind bombing in a sermon. I do my best. I don't mind bombing.
You don't want to do it.
Not every sermon is going to be a grand slam. Some will be triples. Some will be doubles. Some will be singles. Some will be strikeouts. But you don't want to strike out at Alumni.
You don't want to do that.
So Andrea, what about you in that role? Did you feel any of that before this went virtual? What I love to hear what speakers think. What were you thinking about when you first received the invitation?
Absolutely. Well, because it's Easter weekend, and that's usually a big weekend at our church. It was, and it's not a weekend that I ever leave, and so. But it was Oakwood, and so I had to tell my board and everybody, and I'm like, I know, but it's Oakwood. It's Oakwood Alumni.
Absolutely.
So, and they're like, okay, Pastor. And so, of course, I was super excited, and I was absolutely willing to switch things around.
Right.
But yes, there's definitely a nervousness there. There's still a nervousness, even though it's going to be, online, and I can't see people's faces. But it's always an honor, and just seeing your name on the flyer to just be a part of such an amazing event with thousands of people where we come and we recognize the amazing impact that Oakwood has had on all of us. Wow. It touches all of us throughout the world, and so to come back and celebrate and remember is just an honor.
Wow. Yes, it is an honor. We're so glad that you're going to be speaking for us, and we know that you're going to have a wonderful message for us for the 11 o'clock service. Is that going to be planned?
So here's how we're doing it. So here's how we're doing it. So Dr. Andrea Trusty King is pre-recording her message, I'm told. I'm not in the production side of it. But okay, so what we've made a decision to do with the regional presidents, we want to give Dr. King's message the widest possible hearing.
Okay.
As you know, at 11 o'clock, there's a lot of traffic out there all of a sudden, right, because of the COVID virus.
Right.
So in order to reach our friends on the West Coast as well as the East Coast, we're going to play her sermon at 3:30 Central Standard Time, which will give everyone, they can get past their local church. We want to be supportive of the local churches. We really, really do. Because these are our partners. So we don't want to wade into the 11 o'clock competition.
Okay.
But at 3:30, we're going to play her sermon, and that sermon is going to be broadcast across the country. And that's the one the regional presidents and all are promoting and telling everyone to tune in at 3:30 to this presentation. That gives it the widest possible hearing. Does that make sense to you?
That makes a lot of sense.
That's
sense. Really helpful. I know
it's
a lot of
crowded
people,
at 11 o'clock
exactly.
right now.
Everybody's online now. All the churches are online, so you don't really want to compete with that. But
we want to support what they're doing, because if the churches are strong and the conferences are strong, then Oakwood is strong.
Right.
So we're all interrelated in that way.
So, Dr. Pollard, we didn't skip over Dr. Bron Jacobs. We just wanted to speak to him.
A dynamic
dynamic speaker
preacher.
who is going to be our speaker on Friday night, right?
Amen.
So, Dr. Jacobs, how you doing over there?
I am doing well. Good morning to you all.
Wow. Yes, we're all doing well, too. So, how are you feeling? Are you ready for tomorrow?
as ready can be.
Okay.
It is a real joy to always share, in this context and to be a part of Oakwood. So, in that regard, yes, and excited and honored to be a part of it. Absolutely.
Okay. So now you are a faculty at Oakwood University.
Yes. I'm serving as an adjunct professor and assisting in the religion department, and it's been a joy. Really, it's coming full circle has truly been a joy I share with some of my other colleagues as well. So absolutely. So
now what have you learned as a pastor that you're now able to share with your students, especially in this environment of COVID-19?
Yes, absolutely. Well, the overarching message that I've been able to share with our students is particularly in these times, the ability, the privilege to serve the Lord without fear. I believe there's a lot of fear that is associated with this COVID-19 crisis. But I also believe that Jesus has given us a unique opportunity to approach him without fear, without concern, certainly to be cautious, to be wise, but to not succumb to the fear narrative, if you will. And that's what I've been sharing as I keep in contact with my students, even in the message, to remind our brothers and sisters that the overarching message is still Jesus saves.
Amen.
Jesus
Amen. Saves. All right, we're ready to hear your sermon right now. Come on.
Matter of fact, could you preach that right now?
Can you
There's so much fear out there. We would welcome it, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
Now, before we go to our next segment, though, Dr. Pollard, today is, we talked about it already with Dimitri. He's doing the chapel today, right?
Yes, he is at 10 o'clock.
That's at 10 o'clock. Can you tell us how we're going to be able to let everybody join in?
Please go to the WJOU webpage, Facebook page. Thank you very much. To WJOU Facebook page, and there you'll have a link you can click in, and you can hear for your own self.
Right.
That's the way my mother knew.
For your own self.
For your own self. You can hear for your own self for the message that Dimitri will deliver. And then, of course, we will be at our website. Mm-hmm. We will be broadcasting from YouTube and from Facebook, from WJOU, from OUBN. We'll be putting forward all of the messages of this weekend. Mm-hmm. It's going to be wonderful.
So today, let's review it for our listeners. Today is at
10 o'clock.
Chapel, 10 o'clock. And then tomorrow.
It's at 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock.
Central Standard Time.
Central Standard
Time.
All
of these are Central Standard Time.
Right. And then Sabbath is going to be?
It's 3:30. Mm-hmm. 3:30 at Central Standard Time. And it will be followed by a virtual Aeolian concert.
Oh, wow. I didn't, what?
Yeah, you didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Talk about that really quick.
Surprise,
what?
right? So it'll be followed by an Aeolian concert, and we've edited down some of the work that was done last year with Donnie McClurkin. Mm-hmm. So we're going to do that, do a rebroadcast, and you get to re-experience that.
Wow.
Wasn't that an amazing event?
Nice. Yes, it was. That was amazing. So, yeah, I'm sure a lot of people will appreciate being able to see that if they weren't there or weren't able to view it last year. That was last year, right?
Yeah, that was last year.
Yeah, they can see it now this year for our virtual alumni weekend. All right, so we are going to go into our next segment, which is going to feature our students that are working beyond the Oaks.
Yes, absolutely.
Amazing.
Beyond the Oaks.
Beyond the Oaks.
Our motto here at Oakwood is enter to learn, depart to serve. And you've heard great servants this morning, some who are in studio and others who are beyond the studio. And today we've got two great servants who represent the best of Oakwood's values of service. We've got Dr. Jaysson Brooks, who's with us, and we've got nurse Monique Jolicia Johnson. Monique is here. So we've got some wonderful service, and they can give us some front line. So let's start with
the lady.
Go ahead. Yeah. Oh, you wanted to start with the lady?
Let's start with the ladies.
I did too.
Ladies first.
Ladies first.
So, Miss Johnson, how are you doing this morning?
Hi, I'm doing great, thanks.
Great. Now, you just left to go to New York last Thursday, I believe, because
Correct.
On your heart, God put it on your heart that as a nurse, this is where you need to be serving and helping, right?
Yeah.
So tell us about that experience.
Yeah, so I I was doing travel nursing for a few years, and I decided to go back home and just relax and, live a normal life, as they say. And I got a job, and then I heard that they were needing a lot of nurses in New York. And people were messaging me and saying, hey, we need help. And I said, I'm okay. I'm going to pass because, I'm going to just stay at home and, live my little boring life. And after about a week or so of doing that and just seeing that it was getting worse and worse in New York, I decided to, I was telling Dr. Pollard, it just pressed on my heart that I felt that I was very qualified. I had been an emergency room nurse for years, also a traveling nurse. So I've lived in over 13 different states, and I just felt like I had the actual qualifications. And I saw that a lot of nurses were coming out of hiding. There were new grads going. There were people who have never even worked in any type of setting. People who are retired were coming back. And I said, you know what? I am so qualified, and I am sitting over here, in the couch watching TV.
Wow. So you decided to go to the front
I am
lines.
supposed to be serving. And I told Dr. Paul, I said I entered to learn. I entered Oakwood to learn. Not only did I enter Oakwood to learn, but I also entered life to learn even after Oakwood. Learned a lot after that. And I said, now is my opportunity to serve.
Wow, praise God for that courage that you have to go straight to the front lines in New York City, where that's the hot spot.
It is
for COVID-19. And so you are there, and then we also have on the line Dr. Brooks. He's there too. How you doing, Dr. Brooks? All right, we don't hear him.
Doing great. How are you?
There we go.
Here he is.
Yeah, we want to make
Dr.
sure
Brooks, welcome.
We can all talk together. Just want you all to know that Dr. Brooks is also a former student on the front lines. Tell us how your work is going and how you are managing working on the front lines dealing with COVID-19.
Sure. So I'm a pediatric orthopedic surgeon, which basically means I treat kids who have any fractures or any sort of problems with their bones or their muscles. And so, practicing in Mississippi, it's somewhat of a different beast in that we certainly don't have the same volume of cases that perhaps New Orleans does, which is just 2 hours away. But because at baseline, our patients are so much sicker, unfortunately, our mortality rate is extremely high. And so, kind of knowing what was coming down the line, basically our hospitals shut down. And for the most part, we're basically in disaster mode. And being a surgeon, it was kind of interesting being told the first day, that, okay, if you're going to do these 6 cases, you need to use the same mask for all the cases because you don't have enough. And, maybe I would have expected that, on some of the mission trips we would do overseas, but I never would have thought that we would be in this state in America. And so I just think it shows you how serious it is that, and, how serious many of the hospitals are, taking it.
Wow. Now, how has Oakwood, and this is for both of you, how has Oakwood really prepared you for this type of healthcare service that you're providing now? And I guess Oakwood prepared you well. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, for me, I would totally agree. My nursing friends and I, we always say Oakwood taught us holistic care. We used to make a joke and say, if you're ever writing an essay in the Oakwood nursing program and you just put holistic in there, you'll get a good grade. It is something that
Dr. Anderson is listening. Karen Anderson is listening. I'm sure she'll remember that.
We used to make jokes on it, but after I graduated, I realized how true that was. I would meet other nurses and I'd say, oh, yeah, the patient this, and the nurses would say, how do you know that? And I said, you didn't learn that in nursing school? And they would say, no. I've actually had, I worked at hospitals there in Huntsville, and I've had patients request me because they know I went to Oakwood. I've had other nurses say, oh, we'll give this nurse an opportunity because Oakwood nurses are different. And I, really truly believe that during this COVID situation, I have been able to provide holistic care to people who are going in a very turmoil time, and holistic in the term of looking at more than just the illness. So looking at their mental health, looking at their spiritual, looking at their family needs, just looking at everything else more than just that, the illness. And I have found that a lot of nurses or even medical providers, sometimes their brain is not trained. Their training and their education didn't train them to look at things on a holistic level. So Oakwood has definitely helped a lot with that.
Wow. Well, praise God for that. Dr. Brooks, you agree with that? How did Oakwood prepare you?
I would completely second that. I think the servant mentality that you're basically taught as a student, and not just taught, but, you experience it in the many outreach opportunities that Oakwood offered, kind of stays with you for the rest of your career. And I thought that just kind of came with the territory. If you're going into medicine, you kind of viewed every person as a person. But after going through medical school and then residency and all these other things, I realized that there are a lot of healthcare providers that just don't get it. And because of that, when you actually do get it and you walk into the room and you see them for people and not just another person to get through, patients really appreciate it. And I found that especially true in a state like Mississippi, where they don't see many doctors or nurses or anyone that looks like them. If you take that extra time just to sit down with them and find out, about what's really going on in their life, not just what their disease process is, it really allows you to connect with them more deeply and even get into the spiritual realm also.
Wow. So I must say, this Christian education,
makes a difference.
It makes a difference.
Yeah. Dr. Brooks, in the news lately, there's been a lot of conversation about healthcare disparities, and especially they are glaringly evident in places like Detroit and other places where African Americans appear to be dying from the virus in disproportionate numbers. From where you sit, what is the role of an Oakwood physician, an Oakwood nurse, Monique, in helping to close the gap in the healthcare disparity conversation?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, I was just looking at some data right now and looking at the difference between the makeup of different black people in Chicago or Michigan, and then how many of them actually died from the coronavirus. And usually there's a spread of about 40% where they might make up, 30% of the population in Chicago, but 70% of the people that actually died from the coronavirus. And to be honest, this virus is just exposing what we've already known has always been the case, which is that there is a significant gap in overall access to care as well as just healthcare outcomes. And most of that stems all the way back to slavery days and then early Reconstruction, where we just weren't given the same resources in order to build up the health in our communities. And that's certainly prevalent here in the South or the Bible Belt. And so what I would say is that Oakwood students going into healthcare, you have to be at the table. You can't make a change if you kind of sit on the sidelines. And so, whatever you're going into, don't just be, a regular nurse or a regular doctor or a regular dentist, but be a leader where you are, because when you're actual leader, you can actually make some changes in your community. Fortunately, all the data does show that minorities tend to treat minority populations. And so, a minority dentist or doctor or nurse will more likely practice in an area that has a high percentage of those minorities. And so I really think the thing is that we need to expand the number of minorities that are flowing through Oakwood and other HBCUs so that those minorities can go out into the community. But unless we can, widen the pipeline, I don't think we're ever going to make a crack in this dent of, healthcare disparities.
Wow. Well, we're just praising God that
Amen.
you all are there on the front lines and not only representing Christ, but representing Oakwood University and how it does prepare students to work beyond the Oaks. It's amazing. It's amazing. So as we kind of wrap up this segment, I just want both of you just to speak to this question. What would you like to see your alma mater accomplish beyond this pandemic?
Well, beyond this pandemic, I would love to see, I'm already really proud of what Oakwood is already doing and have already been doing for their students. I'll say that. Just talking to a lot of students, just how, just friend to friend, they're just talking about how well Oakwood handled the situation when everyone had to evacuate because of COVID. And a lot of the students seem to be pretty satisfied with how that went. So I think that was very good. I think another thing that I would love to see Oakwood accomplish beyond this pandemic would be to somehow or another try to, I know they already work really well on trying to do that, but trying to reach the more, I guess, millennial generation, which is my generation, to give back more. I know that's more of a personal thing for people, but just, I guess, new methods and different methods of, getting more of that generation more involved, because I have found that a lot of millennial people, they're around the age where they have the energy, they have the stamina, they have wonderful and great ideas, and a lot of things that I think can really bring a lot of benefit to the table.
Wonderful. Dr. Brooks?
I think we've seen with the president that we have now that if we are not electing people who can be at the table, that other people are going to make decisions for us. And so there are going to be a lot of institutions that will not exist after this coronavirus is over. Many restaurants, many businesses. We need to make sure that Oakwood still exists after this is done, so that we can continue to produce the leaders who will be at the table who can, change our society.
Amen.
Amen.
Well, you know what? That's going to end our segment. But Dr. Pollard, we thank you for being with us. Can you review before we leave, though, how Alumni Weekend, Virtual Alumni Weekend is going to be happening?
Virtual Alumni Weekend today at 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Go to the WJOU Facebook page to link in. Then on Friday evening, we will have Dr. Bron Jacobs, who will be speaking. Go to the OUBN studio, WJOU, and all of our outlets. And then, of course, on Sabbath afternoon at 3:30 Central Standard Time, Dr. Andrea Trusty King, followed by a virtual Aeolian concert. So it's a wonderful weekend, and I'd like to thank our guests for what they represent on this Alumni Weekend, how well they represent this, our beloved Oakwood University.
Amen. Thank you so much, and thank you for being with us for Inside Oakwood with Dr. Leslie Pollard and guest. And you'll see us again on Monday for another edition of Inside Oakwood University.
WJOU Huntsville, 90.1 FM, a broadcast service of Oakwood University.
This song is for